Hey guys, SerpentX here. Today I kind of shut down everything. My main system's out here. My main mining rig's out here. Everything's shut down for right now. Uh, I got these two slots now open up. That is where these Zotac 1070s were sitting. I taken them out. I grabbed my high bandwidth SLI bridge from my motherboard box. I'm going to be swapping out the 1080 Ti for the two 1070s and also swapping out the power supply. That's a brand new power supply. I had to use that temporarily in my last video to get the mining rig working until I got the service power supply. But now it's time for my old workhorse to be retired. She's been with me since the Z77 platform that I had in my 2500K from Intel. So now it's time to upgrade in case she decides to fail, because she's a little bit around 5 years or after 5 years, somewhere in there. So the main part in this video, realistically, I competed on HW bot, hardware bot, whatever you want to call it. I'm not an exotic overclocking guy. I don't have exotic cooling, but I do like to get hardware points with the hardware that I have. So I'm going to swap that over, run some benchmarks, some tests, try to get some points, because I really want to see where these two cards that have been mining for almost a year perform and where they sit or stack up against the other benchmarks where gamers just overclock them and use them only for gaming and overclocking rather than mining 24/7. We shouldn't see any performance impacts realistically because they are being underutilized. I mean, yes, the memory is being maxed out, but the temps are in check all the time. Cooling's good. The core is not being stressed as hard as it could be on certain algorithms, so they should be just fine and perform the same. But we're going to test that and find out. So I'm going to get this all together, and I'll bring you back in once I have everything kind of set up and running, show you some benchmarks possibly. Alright guys, before I start benchmarking and testing, not my prettiest setup. This case isn't exactly the most modern case. It's the Thermaltake S31 Urban. I mean, you could tell the age because it has a hard drive bay at the top there, but for an IT guy, when I have somebody that needs their computer fixed, 9 times out of 10 it's a virus. I can take it out of their system, plug it in here, run my own virus scan from my system, securely disconnect it from the network so it doesn't spread if it's one of those type of viruses, and clean it up. So it's a useful feature. That's why I haven't upgraded. If I had a better case with modern like power supply shrouds and all that stuff, you wouldn't see the nest of wires. But it's going to get good airflow to the video cards. It's going to get good airflow going up for the CPU, the 240 rad. And yeah, I'm going to plug it up, see how everything goes, and start doing some benchmarking. Alright guys, we are back. Unfortunately, for some odd reason, OBS does not want to work with the two 1070s and SLI, so I'm using NVIDIA's recording program, which isn't exactly the best, so bear with me. I currently have my 7700K overclocked to 5.2 gigahertz, and I'm on AIO liquid cooling, which is dangerous. So if you're gonna do it, be smart, be careful. Here's the verification for you. Here's the maximum CPU clock. I don't have it locked currently, but there's your all cores 5.2, and it's sitting comfortable. V core, you want to be careful. I did hit 1.44 volts. 1.456 is pushing it. You can wind up frying your CPU, especially with inadequate cooling. In my case, the hottest temperature was 74.5, but again, this CPU is delidded. If you haven't seen that, there's a video I did on the delid process and whether or not it was worth it. I felt it was worth it, so I continued on. This system, or this CPU, has been delidded for roughly going on a year, almost year and a half, almost 2 years. About year and a half now. So running great, but that's not the point of this video. So moving on down, we got the 1070s overclocked to around 2062 megahertz on the core and 2227 on the memory. That's where it likes to sit on the memory. It's like around 22 on the core clock, anywhere between 2020 or 2060, somewhere in that range. And you know, temps have been well in check. The hottest benchmark I saw was around 74, but my system, which you commonly hear in some of the videos that I have, is not the best system out there. It's definitely a little bit outdated, but it's great for the purpose and the jobs that I need it for, so I continue to use it. I just take the dust filter off the front, I get adequate airflow, and temps stay in check both on CPU and GPU. If I left the dust filter on, my 7700K would get pretty hot. It still wouldn't get into the 90s or the 100s, but it would get pretty hot, you know, 78, 79, borderline 80s, and then the GPUs would get up to 78. I'm sure I can push these cards a little bit harder, but certain benchmarks, the core clock was plus 150, some were plus 125, some were plus 100 on the core, and then memory was anywhere between plus 400 to plus 500 depending on the benchmark itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the benchmarks that I've done on HardwareBot right now, or HWBot, excuse me. I'm number 3 out of 100,000 in the enthusiasts of United States. The team switched up on me, and I'm sorry for the flickering. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a flickering going on with the camera on my right here. It's driving me up the wall. But like I said, I do this to get points on the hardware. If I'm able to do pretty well, then I'm completely happy. Currently, I just wanted to see how it performs against other 1070s. And I did do some research and see what other 1070s should be performing at, especially in SLI. But here on these past two benchmarks, I didn't get in the top 5, which is what I was shooting for. I could try again, which I will. And I'm talking about top 5 in the bottom one here, so 2 times 1070 rank. This one I did pretty good. I got second for 3D Mark 03, which is an older benchmark, but it does pretty well. I got some pretty good global team points, power points, and some minor hardware points. They're only like 0.2, 0.2, 0.1, 1, something like that. This one I did pretty good as well. I got 16.2 for the global team power points. So these GPUs are holding out really well, and I could participate in the Challenger 2018 division round, but with that competition, you got to have the background, which I have downloaded, but you got to be on one GPU. And just as easily, I can go into the NVIDIA control panel once I'm done with my testing and disable the SLI. It would require you to close programs, any programs that it would show up in a list, and then you can disable SLI, run the benchmarks again, and compete in whatever programs or challenges that you want on HWBot. Of course, on this last test here, I noticed something. So here's another person with a 1070. And this is for 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited, and he got 229,000, whereas I got 228,000. So the 1070s, that and some other results that I found on 3D Mark, this one was GPU Pi. I am right where I need to be. Really unusual thing that I noticed here is, look at this. Iceman right below me has 2 1080 Ti's, and he scored less than me, and I got 2 1070s. I'm not sure if that's my CPU overclock or something went wrong with his benchmark, but anyways, that's not the point. The point here is that the 1070s that I have been mining for around a year is performing where it should be, where honestly that they're meant for. So the fear of buying a graphics card secondhand that has been used primarily for mining is a question that a lot of people ask. Not only me, but other YouTubers, tech tubers, or not even YouTubers and tech tubers, just people in general. Hey, you know, can I get this 1070? Or should I get this 1070? Should I get this 1060? You know, it was used for mining Ethereum. It was used for this, used for that. And when I am mining, the GPUs don't get anywhere close to how hot my benchmark showed. So the 63, 62, 60, especially these 1070s, the Zotacs, because they're open air, from the Atom, from Zotac, they're not blower style. they stay pretty cool. So I can be anywhere between 58 to 63 on a mining rig because they're sitting up there bare. I don't even have a bunch of fans on. It stays nice and cool. I always keep the ambient in the house is good. So the temps are always in check. And then yes, you're pushing the memory pretty hard. You're pushing the core clock pretty hard, but you're using the TDP percentage to control how many watts it pulls. So it's actually staying pretty good, pretty comfortable. These cards are not being stressed out to a point where they're going to burn up. Now, the real question you should be asking is, where's the card manufactured? What kind of components did they use? The previous owner, did they take care of them? Did they clean them out regularly? Did they, just overall maintenance of the device and the video card is important. But those questions are what you should be asking, not so much should I buy this graphics card that this miner has been using for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Because of age, especially with new devices these days, back in the day you could buy a device and it probably lasts you 10, 15 years. But now you buy components and some of those components may die out in that 5-year mark. That's usually where they do. Or the warranty would die out, the component dies 6 years in, and then you're stuck. So I wouldn't worry about the graphics cards that were being used for mining purposes only. I would just see the duration, how long they were being used for mining, how old are they, like when they were actually manufactured, shipped out, what day they were released, and the components, like, you study the different brands. Are they using, what kind of components are they using, and that will determine whether or not you think you're going to get another 2 years out of the card if you did buy it from a miner, maybe 3, 4, 5. It really depends. The 90 Ti has been running strong. That's going to be my next test. My 90 Ti has been mining for around 2 years, almost a little bit more, and now I'm going to be testing that out later on, so stay tuned for a video from that to see how it stacks up against my old benchmarks, because I did run benchmarks on that graphics card prior to mining, and then later I'm going to do another set. That may not come anytime soon. I've been very busy. I'm about to leave to go do a job here in a minute, and I'll be back later on tonight. But I think I'm going to run with these 1070s in my system for a little bit and put the 1080 Ti back in a little bit later. I really want to use these cards, do some gaming, see how it performs. But temps are in check. Performance, TDP, all that good stuff is in check. So don't worry about the graphics cards that you may buy secondhand from a miner. That's irrelevant. Just look at the components, look at the manufacturers, and study up on a card. If you really want to buy a secondhand card, there's going to be a lot of them coming out soon because crypto mining is going down quite a bit. A lot of people are getting out of the game. So the secondhand GPU market will be flooded here if it hasn't started to flood already, and you can grab yourself some decent cards for a cheap price. So I hope this helps you out. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.